Hi, so in this video I'd like to carry on with the previous video's example and just expand on it a little bit and take advantage of some other serverless features. So looking at this example now, one of the limitations we can see is that we can only specify one EC2 instance. Now, although we've got that obviously in a custom variable, it is a little bit of a pain that we can only specify one. And what ideally would be nice to do is be able to actually, specify a whole host of EC2 instances and define, their start, stops and regions, etc. in a nice DSL. And then we'll be able to pass that, and then it would create all the different individual events for us. So let's go about actually doing this. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to our handler, and I'm actually going to delete everything from the handler, and I'm going to paste in a new handler. So you can see here that what this is doing instead is it's kind of joining those two functions together, the start and the stop, and it's just made a new one called state change. And what we do now is we actually pass in within the event the actual state that we want the EC2 instance to go to. So here is just we're taking advantage of some JavaScript object notation, and we're able to say, okay, let's just make start the instances or stop the instances, and then successfully started or successfully stopped. Okay, so with that now, we'll save that and we'll go back to our serverless file. And you can see now that we don't actually need either of these. So we're going to remove those, and we're going to also remove the custom variables that we had. And what we're going to then do instead is I'm going to paste in a new function. So here's a new function definition. So it's the state change, passing the state change. This is the secret source essentially. So this is allowing us to pass in an external JavaScript file that we can then do some pre-computation on, and just passing in the actual function. So this is saying, okay, use the exported schedule function from the instances JavaScript file. And what will happen is this will pre-process this, pass it before it actually makes all the CloudFormation scripts, etc. So we can take advantage of some, JavaScript's power. So let's make a new file then, and we'll call this instances. And at the moment, I'm just going to paste in some dummy code. So in here, we also need obviously another ID. So I'm just going to, at the moment, just cheat a little bit, as I'm only doing it as a demo. And I'm just going to show you so you can clearly see what's actually happening here. And you can see here, so we've got a start stop for both instances. They're both in region EUS1, and at the moment these are invalid EC2 instances, but it just allows for the purposes of actually explaining it. So we've got now the DSL we want, but let's actually pass the schedule. It's very simple functions. All this is doing is creating the start. So based on the instances that we provide, the DSL data that we provide, we then are able to generate the schedule, each of the individual schedule statements. So similar to how we do it in the YAML, instead this is doing it in JavaScript JSON notation, which serverless can pass as well. And we're able to pass in the rates and then the inputs. And to say here with this start state, because now we're actually passing in the state just so we can use one function, we have to pass that in each time now. And again with the stop. So this is very similar, just with the stop cron notation and the stop state. And finally, what we do is we reduce this instance array down into all of its subsequent schedules. So we just go through each of the instances and we just pass the start and the stop, and we just add them to a list, to append them all to constantly appending, accumulating up the reduced instance schedule list. And then within serverless, you can see here that all we do now is it will invoke this schedule exported function, and then returned events, which will all be schedules, will be passed and put in here. And now in the terminal, what we can do is we can just simply do our serverless deploy, TAC-V, so we can see what's going on. Okay, with that now deployed, what we can do is we'll go back up and just see what it's actually done. So you can see here that it's actually expanded out that DSL we had into all the different scheduled, so in the case, these permissions for the lambdas, but also scheduled rules. These are 4 of them, because one for the stop and start of each instance that we had. And obviously it's also included the state change lambda function. So with that now deployed, let's go over to AWS and see what it's actually done. So if we refresh AWS Lambda now, you can see now we've got one function. So if we go manage functions, and we can see it's our state change function. So you see we've got our state change function here. So it's the single function that we're going to use now for both start and stopping EC2 instances. And then if we go up to CloudWatch and go to rules, you can see now we've expanded it out into the four different rules. So if we click on one of these rules, you can see that this one, so this is the start, and for this ID, and it was the region EUS1 we supplied, and this was the 830 instance for start in that one. And then likewise, if we go to here, again, this is the stop for that ID. and it was at 4:30 we decided there. So you can see here that this is, there's a lot of power to be gained from this. Because of these abstractions that we have now, we're able to, and also taking advantage of JavaScript, the language JavaScript, we're able to expand out and really kind of create these lovely DSLs that are very easy to understand and to configure, and then it will allow serverless to pre-process this and create the CloudFormation scripts that it needs to be done. So I hope that's been some help, and till next time, goodbye.